Anybody missing that should be here? No? Well, here we finally are at Coffs Harbour at our biennial conference, and surprising number of people here. Lovely to see you all. My name is David Mee, and I'm president of the society. I'm only president of the bit down in Sydney, and not even that, in New South Wales, shall we say. And let me give a warm welcome to everyone who's made the effort to get here, and especially our lovely friends from Queensland who've come down the other direction. But we all meet together in our favourite venue, it seems. And we all had a good breakfast this morning, so a very warm welcome to you all. And I hope you all really enjoy yourself, looking both at the displays, and displays are just an opportunity to talk to the person who arranged them, obviously. And feel free to, sorry, Judy's trying to tell me something here. All right, yeah, turn it off. Oh, okay, she told me to mute my phone. Right, I'll do that later. So yes, we're here. So we're ready to start. I must say, as president, taking over from the dearly departed John Veltmeyer, because I live about 150k south of Sydney, I don't often get to the meetings, which are held on Sunday morning at Chatswood, because it takes me most of the day just to get there and back, let alone attend the meeting. So I regret that, but I usually at least make it to chair the meetings that when Jim Noble, just before his auction, and we all meet at his place, and that's always an joyous occasion too. We'll have a look at the coins that we haven't got any more money to buy and don't need, but nevertheless, it's a fun occasion. So that's pretty well typical of Sydney. But Rod, now that I mentioned him, I think it's probably time to, just in case we forget to acknowledge him later, all the effort he's put into organising this conference. Single-handedly, right?
Yep, he's a good lad.
So the next item I must say is we've had a few members passing away during the last meeting, and what I'd like you to do is just be upstanding to remember them, and I'll read out their names as we do. So, and I'll read from the bottom, which is the people who passed away earlier. So John Veltmeyer, our former president, passed away in 2023. Alex Rentoul in 2023, Keith Taylor in 23, and Barry D. Scott in also 2023. I remember Barry, probably didn't come to the conference meetings, but he used to collect Spanish coins, I used to say. And Robert Bridle, 2023. And then last year, Ron Bolden, and John Pettit. And then this year, two Queensland members, quite beloved members, Bruce Canning in February this year, and John Cook in May just recently. So remember them, they're lovely gentlemen. I almost, feel sorry for them, but it happens to all of us.
Excuse me, Dave. There's some more sad news came through last night as Charlotte Nobles returned to England for a couple of weeks. Because that's all she's got to go. She's had a relapse with her cancer. Charlotte's Simon Noble, Jim's son, who's the auctioneer and that at Jim's. And yeah, it's.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Ross.
And she's a lovely lady, and they've got a son, Max.
Yeah.
And she's worked at Nobles too, and it's just a sad occasion. So yeah, just. Thoughts
As you know, Jim's been a gold member for many, many years, gold medalist, and his family obviously part of the club. Okay, thank you very much. So I'd like now to ask John if he would step up and also give his welcome to everybody here. And I'll come back again and chair the speakers.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. David Mee, our President, our Queensland President, Stephen Appleton, members of the Council of the Australian Numismatic Society, dear friends, all. Our Australian Numismatic Society this year is 112 years old, and it's obviously a great delight for us all to meet here, as our President has said, to share new knowledge that comes every year, and to enjoy the company of very good friends. In many cases, friendships that have extended now throughout the decades. Our Australian Numismatic Society was founded in 1913, and the first national convention was held in Sydney in 1966. In 1987, our council decided to hold a biennial conference nationally, and the first ANS conference was held at Port Macquarie in 2010. And the first biennial conference was held here in Coffs Harbour, where we meet today, in 2010. At every conference, we share new ideas, we reinforce knowledge that we have ourselves, knowledge about currency and coins and medals and badges, and we perhaps stimulated at these conferences to develop some new research project of our own. I certainly have in the past. Coinage, as we all recall, was first invented in 625 or thereabouts BC in the kingdom of Lydia, in the middle of modern day Turkey. It was under the auspices of King Alyattes, whose son Croesus, of course, gave the phrase riches Croesus, because of the electrum pebbles that were in the Patroclus River. And I will remember making a pilgrimage and dollying in the gravels of the Patroclus River to try to find some electrum on some 25 years ago. Things change. Coinage is changing, currency and commerce is changing, as all of us are very much aware. But what endures is the preservation of our society's most important themes, whether they be the monarch of the day, great events of the day, or the most trivial of local events that people like ourselves regard as worthy of commemoration in a medallic or medalette or other similar badge forms. It's very important to be aware that books and records, papers, maps, newspapers all decay and are lost. Computer passwords are lost, as several owners of huge treasure of Bitcoin now know to their terrible cost. It's the Bitcoin is there in a computer, always now inaccessible. But for these reasons, we all believe that the science and art of numismatics hold within them perhaps an ethical responsibility which involves us all. That is the preservation of history and heritage in the most enduring form. It's after a person dies, our houses are full of cargo, as we all know. That is all thrown, most of that thrown in the skip. What endures is a medal. There is a hesitancy to put a name medal in the skip, and that's the thing that endures. And we know that the odd coin that's found in the sands of Mesopotamia has a king's head on it. The king's name is not known. Nothing else is known. That is the only enduring record of an entire kingdom, let alone the personal lives like we're all living. So we do have, I feel, an ethical responsibility in our avocation of numismatics to be very aware of the significance of what we do in the preservation of this history and heritage of the past. Our constitution of the Australian Numismatic Society has 4 elements to it, and I quote, "Firstly, to promote the scientific study and practice of numismatics in all its forms, whether these be medals, coins, medalheads, banknotes, badges, or other forms of medallic recording. Secondly, to spread knowledge, and that's part of the reason that we're here today. Thirdly, to assist in the interchange of knowledge, the sharing of knowledge. And fourthly, to encourage research and its publication." These are 4 very important imposts that really involve us all as proud members of the Australian Numismatic Association. But to these perhaps we might add a 5th impost, and that is, and I quote, "to promote social interchange and encourage friendship within our shared love of numismatics." Today there are 37 numismatic societies in Australia. Each of these has the same ideals as we have, but with varying emphases. One delight of numismatics is that the field is so very broad that any of us can select a small area and we can become the acknowledged expert, perhaps the expert on a field which we choose. And this is a wonderful thing. But such leads to new knowledge and encourages our work, and enriches the lives of all of us and that of our friends. And this is the emphasis of any convention such as we're enduring today. So may it thus be that we have the most enjoyable weekend to fulfil these 4 imposts of the society of which we're all such proud members. Thank you all.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, John, for putting all those great perspectives in as to why we do this and how we should proceed. And I agree so much with your idea about the fellowship that it produces. And there's a spirit which guides all of us in wanting to know each other. So without further ado, and I've just lost my little prom sheet there. Did John take it, yeah? You might have. Yes, right now.
That would be suitable.
Okay, before I start the program, General, I'd like to ask Bernie Begley to come up and wants to say a few words about Queensland members and so on. So.
Thanks for that, David. Very much appreciated. And sorry to push into the schedule, but a number of people have asked me from Queensland to pass on their greetings to them, to us all here. In particular, George Snellgrove, who was such an active participant and winner of, I think, a number of the Best Display awards here. He's now 86 and basically housebound, so he's no longer attending meetings. But Don Wright was here at, I think, the last convention. He's now 91, soon to be 92, regularly attending our meetings, and while he's using a wheelie walker, he's still as enthusiastic as ever with his collecting and thinking about us. One of the founders of these conferences with Ross Bradley was Cole Thomas and his wife Pat. They both send their greetings, regularly attending our meetings, and for reasons of ill health can't be here today. Also, Gordon and Carol Hodge have attended a number of the conferences, and likewise they're finding difficulty in getting transport and things like that and couldn't be here. But I also have a message from Peter Lane of Adelaide, who's been to a number of the conferences. I speak to Peter on a fairly regular basis, and I can tell you he's actively collecting as much today as ever. But anyway, I just thought it'd be nice to mention our friends who aren't here and were formerly part of our group. Thank you, and thanks, David.
Yes, well, Bernie's reminded me too, there's probably another couple of New South Wales people that not necessarily given apologies, but would have obviously been here a decade earlier, and one obviously is Colin Pitchfork. Okay, he had some difficult times recently. In the Great Fires a few years ago, his house at Lake Conjola burnt down. He lost a lot of his numismatic library and everything that he had there, I mean, it wasn't, he had still a house in Sydney, but nevertheless he's rebuilding. But I haven't heard a lot from him lately, but you know, we'll miss him because he was definitely the Greek scholar, okay? We don't have a resident Greek scholar so much anymore, and he was certainly it, and he gave some lovely talks in previous years, so that's it. Now, we've got I won't say we've got a little bit of time up our sleeve because we'll consume it, so we will start the program straight away, and that'll allow us just a little bit of slack to allow those who need to have a few more minutes to go over their time. So we've got a fairly busy interesting morning up till morning tea, which is at 10:30. The first speaker will be Stephen Appleton, who's currently sitting there doing all the knobs and making sure everything works. Hope it works for him that way. And he's going to talk on a topic called Misnumia. And then after that, at 10 o'clock, Gerry Doyle is going to talk about the Matthew Boulton Soho mint, obviously the mint that produced the cartwheel pennies and tuppences. And then we'll have morning tea, and then the session after morning tea will be three talkers, John Perrin, and the Merry Token, Judith Mee, talk about some of the coins I've put on display there, and then Ross Prattley will talk about revisiting the RMS Douro, and that'll bring us to lunchtime. In which case, after lunch, I'll hand over to John, who will then look after the afternoon session for you. So, Stevie, you ready?
I think so.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll leave the program
yes.
there. So.
The titles.
Now, I did bring my little bedside clock so we can, the speaker at least can see what time it is, and I can prompt occasionally.
Good morning, fellow members. Thank you for the opportunity to be the first speaker. Yeah, some of you may have looked at the program of talks for this morning. Seen my talk of Misnumia and wondered what the heck's that word. Some of you may have even Googled the word to try to find out what it meant, and you couldn't find it. Yeah, I made it up. But it does fit what I'm going to be talking about. It's a word I think I actually saw someone else invent the word, or try to invent the word on the internet, and I thought that's a good word. And when I was asked to think of a topic, I wrote it down like a year ago. Yeah, I'll use that. Okay, let's see if we can. There we go. What is Misnumia? Misnumia I'm defining as false information about numismatics, often propagated via social media or other internet platforms. So if you see something on the internet, not just about coins, but about anything at all, it might be right, it might be wrong. Part of the problem with the internet is there's no overall boss or anything like that to say this is wrong, you can't say that sort of thing. So anyone can come onto the internet and say anything. Some of it's right, some of it's good, some of it's really well intentioned, some of it is wrong. As with other incorrect information perpetuated on the internet, it comes in two flavours. You've got misinformation, that is things that are sincerely believed but are actually wrong. People who spread this are people who just don't know any better. Or they're easily fooled by other people coming along with a slick presentation, and yeah, they just don't know any better. Then of course you've got the worst kind, which is disinformation. These are lies that somebody has deliberately made up. Somebody sat down and said, I'm going to tell something that's not true, and I'm going to put it out there on the internet. Why? Don't know. It certainly sows anarchy and discord among the collecting community when this happens. Some of it's created for criminal intent, some of it's created just for personal gain, or to get clicks on YouTube or something like that. But yeah, it's a problem. So what kinds of things are we talking about? Well, some of it isn't necessarily an internet age phenomenon. Obviously, people have been lying to each other for thousands of years. So for start off, we've got the most basic sort of Misnumia. We've got counterfeits. Counterfeits also come in, they've always been with us. The internet age has seen them proliferate. There's far more counterfeits out there, far more people making counterfeits, far more people selling counterfeits, far more people talking about counterfeits as if they're genuine. A lot of them are coming from China, particularly modern coins. Making counterfeit coins is perfectly legal in China. So long as you don't counterfeit communist government coins, you're fine. Yeah, they're just being imported by their shipping container load. They're getting better and better quality. Often you think of a Chinese counterfeit and you think of those sort of laughable ones with spelling errors and things like that. There are those out there that exist. There are also some ones that are very good, that can fool even the experts. American third-party grading slabs. The whole point of these third-party grading slabs was to authenticate and give confidence to people that, you know, the coin in there is authentic. But of course, people in China, if they can make a fake coin, it's no problem at all for them to make a fake piece of plastic to put the coin in. So that means you've got to learn what a fake slab looks like and learn all the diagnostics. And if I'm going to learn that sort of stuff, I'd rather learn it about the coins rather than about the piece of plastic. So in that sense, it's becoming less useful as a tool. And as with anything on the internet, you have aggressively assertive claims to truthiness. It's very difficult, you know, being on the internet, you know, trying to prove that somebody else is wrong on the internet, because they're going to argue back. People don't like admitting they're wrong, don't like admitting that what they've always been taught is wrong. Okay, so first up, we've got some basic kinds of counterfeits. Tourist replicas. Can anyone identify that? Anyone know what that's supposed to be?
Syracuse Decadragon.
Syracuse Decadragon. What's wrong with it? Okay, see? The Syracuse Decadragon is supposed to be made of silver. Okay, is that silver? No, it's not. It's also very fuzzy and cloudy. Okay, it's obviously cast. A cast counterfeit. Okay, you go to somewhere in Italy or even Greece or Turkey. You'll see these things in the street markets. They're sold to tourists. They're not designed to fool us, but they still fool ordinary non-collectors. You come off the cruise ship in Ephesus. You walk down to the ruins in Ephesus. At the gates, either end is a stall, flea market, and it's full of antiquities, and every single one is fake. Including all the coins, and they buy them. Nobody tells them they're fake. They take them home. Nobody tells them they're fake. And you know, we collectors are then faced with these people coming along to our coin club meetings or coming along to our coin dealerships and saying, "I got this in Turkey. You know, how much do I get for it?" And we're the ones who have to tell them, "I'm sorry, it's not real." We can tell at a glance that one's not real. That one's not a threat to us, but it's still causing misinformation out there in the wider community. Museum replicas. Okay, anyone who's had any sort of contact with ancient coins, particularly on the internet, we all know the scourge of those three letters over there, WRL, Westair Reproductions Limited. A British company, they make souvenirs. You go to any museum or anything like that over in Britain, you'll probably find these Westair Reproduction Limited souvenirs being sold. They're all sold in these nice wrappers that say this is a replica. Of course, pop the thing out of the wrapper and that information's gone. And of course the other problem with this is, okay, you've got the stamp, it's nice and clear there. Some nefarious person can come along with a little hammer and chisel, knock away or flatten down those letters, and you can have a very convincing looking replica, which you can then on-sell on the internet or wherever to to, again, the gullible. Okay, they all look like that. If you see one of these Julius Caesar elephant denarii, you should know at a glance, okay, if it's got that sort of rim, look for the WRL. There should either be a WRL there or a suspicious looking scuffed area where the WRL used to be. Chinese fakes. I mentioned Chinese fakes. This is allegedly an American 1815 half dollar. It looks pretty good. The Chinese seller who was selling it had 5 of them, just like it. And there were 6 other sellers, all had 5 of them, just like it. Yeah, I think the probability of just one of these coins making its way to China would be quite low, and the probability of 30 of them all looking identical. Yes. So, yeah, and again, okay, take this, stick it in a fake slab, and any collector in America is going to be prepared to hand over thousands of dollars for it. How we going for time? Plenty of time.
Just in time to start.
Okay, fantasies. Here's a very old piece of Misnumia. These things have been around for over 100 years. What is it exactly? Is it based on an ancient coin? I've never seen an ancient coin that looked like that. I think someone was trying to make it based on an ancient coin. If you look at the inscription over here, it almost reads Basilios Seleucus. I think someone was trying to make a Seleucus coin, but they've sort of made a few spelling errors and blunders. So now it says Basilios Seleucus. So what was happening? In the late 1800s in Greece, there were allegedly some gypsies going around telling the story of a king Selvarus who had this buried treasure of 11 gold pigs. And these coins were the secret to figuring out where this buried treasure was. And I'll sell you this coin for $50, and you can find out where the buried treasure is. This is all obviously in an age before metal detectors and people actually knew where you could find buried treasure. So at least that's the story I've often heard, and I've seen it on the internet to this day. People insisting that these coins are real, that there actually was a medieval king Selvarus, but there wasn't. Reader's Digest replicas. These things must be the most confusing, causing counterfeit/replica out there. I'm a moderator on an internet forum, and about 3 times a year for the past 20 years, somebody's gone onto that forum and said, I've got one of these, what is it? And they usually come to us because it looks like CEAAE. If you type that into Google, CEAAE, you come up with our discussion on what these things are on the internet forum. What it is based on is a silver tetradrachm from the city of Gela in Sicily. They are obviously supposed to be silver. They aren't supposed to have this giant blob in the center. The giant blob is so that Reader's Digest could attach the thing to a piece of cardboard. I've never seen one of these things still attached to the piece of cardboard. And obviously genuine Gela tetradrachms don't have the word copy stamped into them down there. Again, you see these with the word copy. They were made with the word copy stamped in there, but again you can see that sometimes find examples where somebody's gone and got a bit of sandpaper and rubbed out the word copy to try to pass it off as something that's not a copy. These things, they look like Austria 1752 gold ducats. Okay, I know these ones came from Reader's Digest because my grandma, who was a really big Reader's Digest fan, gave me both of these things. I think she knew that they weren't real, but I'm a coin collector, these are coins, here Stephen, have them. Now the interesting thing about these ones is, there's one example here and one example here. This one has copy on it. Down the bottom. This one doesn't. Why do people make coins with the word copy on them? In 1973, I think it was, America passed legislation saying that if you are selling a coin or distributing a coin that's not genuine, it has to have copy, C-O-P-Y, stamped on it. So you often see replicas like that. You go onto the internet, you often see these Chinese fake sellers. Okay, their picture on eBay has the word copy stamped on it. It's been photoshopped on there. You buy the coin, it doesn't have it on there. And again, I've seen people on the internet say, you know, I've got this gold coin. How much is it worth? And sorry guys, it's not a real gold coin. It's Reader's Digest. False errors. This is a big one that takes up way too much time on the internet community, on the internet forums and things like that. Here we have an American 1 cent coin. It's got this strange marking on it. What is it? It must be an error. No, what's happened here is somebody's got a bunch of coins, put them in a vice, tighten the vice. Crunch, 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 smoosh the two coins together. So basically, another coin has acted as a die onto this coin after it's already been made. Obviously, long after it left the mint. So you've ended up with the impression of another coin. You know, that's sort of the Lincoln Memorial from another American cent. An earlier one than 2016, because 2016 they were using the shield. So impossible to make in the mint, obviously, but try to convince somebody who's found one of these in change that it's not a mint error. Lawnmower coins, general category for a coin that's all scuffed and beat up and dented. That obviously had to happen in the mint, didn't it? Okay. Acid dip coins. Very often you see people come onto the internet and they've got this coin. It's smaller than a normal coin. It's thinner than a normal coin. It's lighter than a normal coin. It must be a mint error. No, if you take a normal coin and you dunk it in nitric acid, it'll get smaller, it'll get thinner, it'll get lighter. They're just damaged coins. Rumours, another misinformation. This is an old one that came to my attention. I'm a volunteer at a missionary charity. People donate stamp collections mostly, but sometimes there's coins in there as well. To the missionary charity, it's our job to sell it and raise money for mission. I'm the coin guy on the committee. My job, anyone gives us coins, my job to on-sell them. I got given this big collection of pre-decimal pennies. Fairly standard, except there are so many 1923s. So many, the guy must have fished out every single 1923 penny he ever saw and put it in this collection. And there was smattering of, your typical smattering of other dates that people were putting away in the 60s. But so many 1923s. And it turns out 1923 was a special year because it was the first year that Australia started using Mount Morgan copper to make our own coins. And Mount Morgan copper has gold in it. So there's more gold in these coins than there is in a normal halfpenny. So that's why they were keeping them. It's all garbage. We have the technology to remove gold from copper. It's not there in the pennies anymore. This rumour, I think, came about because obviously 1923 halfpennies are rare. They're valuable. Okay? Why would anybody pay hundreds of dollars for a 1923 halfpenny? There must be some reason. Maybe there's gold in them. Very similar story with this coin. Paraguay, 1997, issued a coin, 500 guaranis. This one here was the normal design for 1997. This one here, the normal design for 1998. Very late in 1997, they decided to change the design. So some 1997 coins have this design. They are rare. Okay? These are 50 cents on the market today. These are 50 bucks. But obviously when they first came out, people didn't know how many there were. The coin collectors were prepared to pay $100, $200 for one of these. The local people said, why would anybody pay a couple of $100 for a 50-cent coin? The mint must have accidentally made some out of gold, and that's why people are making them. So an awful lot of these coins you find, they've been scuffed, they've been tested, they've been bitten, they've been drilled into. Even these ones that would have been worth $50 if they hadn't scuffed and tested and drilled into them. So frustrating. Okay, what's next? I call this egregious overpricing. This is a screenshot I took just a couple of days ago off eBay. If any of you have searched eBay, you would have seen ones like this. Okay, so here's somebody. Here's the grand total of the entire description of this coin. Rare Australian 50-cent coin. Okay, and they're asking only $2,500 for it. Is there anything rare about that coin? No, these guys found it in their change. Okay, why are they doing this?
Tasmania, very unique.
Very unique. Australia actually acknowledged the existence of Tasmania, I'll grant you that. But obviously they made millions of them, and you can still get them in your change for 50 cents without going through too many boxes of 50-cent coins. What a lot of these listings are, it's organised crime, money laundering. The theory is, okay, you want to buy $2,500 worth of drugs, but you obviously don't want $2,500 for drug money on your books. So the drug dealer will say, okay, go onto eBay and buy this coin off me. Goes onto eBay, buys the coin, guy gets his drugs, everybody's happy, everybody on their books says, sale of rare coin is the reason why $2,500 changed hands. Are the police going to know that that's not really a $2,500 coin? Is anybody going to know? You're going to have to find an actual coin collector to buy it. Obviously, actual coin collectors aren't going to be going around paying this sort of money for this sort of thing. But this is why these things are actually selling. You go to the sold listings on eBay, and you can find something like this that's sold for $2,500. Now, obviously, if you're in organised crime and somebody comes along and says, I want to buy that coin for $2,500, the organised criminal is not going to say, no, you can't. And say, sure, I'll sell it to you. And then you've got somebody out there who thinks this is an actual rare coin for $2,500. This has generally rendered meaningless. Okay, a few years ago, we used to tell people, okay, if you want to find out what the value of a coin is, go on eBay and look for sold lists, sold items, how much it sold for, how much other people bought it for. You can't do that anymore because of things like this. The rise of the machines. I'm about to show you a video. Warning, the following video is completely bogus. It is a 2-hour-long, AI-written, AI-spoken YouTube video about a completely fictitious, rare Australian 5-cent piece. Now, I'm not going to show you the entire video. If we can get the technology to work, we'll just see a few minutes of it. Because if we show the entire video, that gets them a click, a view, and that gets the person who put this on YouTube some money from YouTube for doing it. So we don't want that to happen. If you go on and read the comments, all the comments are glowing about, oh wow, I didn't know this was rare. You won't find any comments about, you're an idiot, that's not rare, which any coin collector would say if they actually saw this. That's because the video's owner can pick which comments stay and which ones get deleted. So it's obviously going to delete all the ones saying, okay, you're full of lies. The owner of this particular video, if you go through his video history, two 2-hour-long AI-generated videos every day. And this is just one channel. You can find dozens of channels just like this on YouTube. And this is where people are getting their information about coins. Okay, if you just go on Google and type, okay, Australia, 1981 5-cent piece, okay, this video is likely to come up. There's a short link to the video if anyone particularly wants to watch the entire thing for themselves. Unfortunately, I don't have a YouTube subscription, so we're probably going to have to put up with a YouTube ad first. No, it's going to start playing it straight away. Let's see if I can get the volume up. I'll have to go over here to manage my volume, because I had the volume down as I was using this thing last night. I didn't want to wake up the neighbours. Let's see. Just a sec. I'll just see if I can bump up the volume. Yeah, crank it up. I meant to bring speakers so I could plug it on so it'd be louder. Right.
Let's start by going back in time to 1981, when this small but mighty coin was first minted in Australia. The 5-cent coin features Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse side, as she
That's
has been
true.
the reigning monarch of Australia since 1952. On the reverse side, you'll find a stunning representation of an echidna, a unique and iconic Australian animal known for its spiky exterior and cute appearance.
That's also
Now,
true.
what sets this particular 1981 5-cent coin apart from the rest is its rarity and condition. You
That's
see,
not.
back in the 1980s, the Royal Australian Mint made a mistake during the minting process, resulting in a small number of coins with errors. These errors can range from missing letters or numbers to misaligned designs, and they can significantly increase the value of a coin for collectors. In the case of the 1981 5-cent Australian coin worth $1.1 million. The error is a missing date on the obverse side of the coin. Instead of
Does it have a missing date? No, it doesn't.
this coin has a blank
Yeah, it doesn't know that.
making it a one-of-a-kind find. This error is known as a mule coin.
It's not a mule.
Mismatched dies are used during the minting process, creating a unique and valuable coin for collectors. But the rarity of this coin doesn't stop there. In addition to the missing date error, this particular coin is also in impeccable condition, with no signs of wear or damage. This combination of
So how does he know it's 1981 if it's got a missing date?
Ask the AI this question. Okay, so where has this AI gotten this bizarre information? Because the AIs generally don't make up stuff completely unprompted. It gets some idea from somewhere about you know, where this thing is. But the point is, somebody's just gone along, told the AI, write me a 2-hour-long video script for you know, an Australian 1981 5-cent piece, and how rare and valuable it is. And the AI's gone and generated this. He's then rammed that script through another AI thing that speaks it out for him, so he doesn't have to do any work. Okay. Here we have where I think the AI has gotten this idea of a mule that doesn't have a date, that's actually worth some money. In 2008, Great Britain swapped the reverse design from the old rose that was on there since 1982 to this one. But when they did that, they swapped the date from being on the obverse, being on the reverse to being on the obverse. So what's happened here with this coin, you have a new reverse, which doesn't have the date, and the old obverse used by mistake, which also doesn't have the date. So it is an undated mule. This actually is an undated mule. This is what an undated mule looks like. Are they worth $1.5 million? No. Get them for about $100. They might have spiked up to $200 or $300 when they first come out. But you know, once it was obvious just how many of these things are out there. Now they're not super common, but you know, they're $100 rarity sort of thing. Although you can probably find people selling them on eBay for a few thousand. So yeah, that's that was something. When somebody on the internet forum posted this video, I just couldn't believe that. But it also explains why people keep coming to us saying, I've got this rare and valuable coin. Okay, and we tell them, no, it's not. They think we're then out to rip them off, to get this expensive, rare, valuable coin off them cheaply so that we can then go and sell it. This is a problem for dealers, this is a problem for coin club members or people actually wanting to care about truth on the internet. So how should a coin club respond? We must be islands of truth in the sea of Misnumia. So you know, if people come in, you know, we've got to stand for truth. We can't sort of put up with that sort of thing. If it comes into our presence, if it's something we can control. We must be patient with those suffering under misinformation. They're not going to like being told that the coin they've thought for $2,500 and they've already mortgaged is not actually worth anything. We should also challenge this information when it appears amongst us. So if someone comes into our coin club meeting and starts talking like that video does, you know, we can't just sit back and say, oh, that's nice. You're welcome to your belief. We've really got to challenge it, because if it goes unchallenged, the misinformation and disinformation will spread. That's all I have. Thank you.
Before you go, David has something for you.
Yes, thank you very much, Stephen. Great talk. Terrific introduction to the whole program.
Camera over there.
All right, and because of that, we've got a gold, but probably no motivation in this.
It's
$2,500.
It is gold plated.
Gold plated.
You know, the plating on it is
The kernel of
very
truth.
little.
So thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was great timing, great timing. I didn't
That
have
was
to
a very
get
good
to
talk.
We've still
Thank
got
you.
about 10 minutes spare. So, let me then now introduce our next speaker, which is Gerry Doyle, well known to all of us, a regular attender at our conferences, and he is going to talk about Matthew Bolton's Soho mint. Soho, for those who don't know, and I'm sure Gerry Doyle will tell us, is a mint in Birmingham, England, UK. And a reminder that I asked, sitting next to him at dinner last night, and I asked him a question about how was James Watt involved in all of this, and Gerry says, I'm not going to tell you, I'll tell you this one.
Before Gerry starts, the program is in the order I got the titles. So, yes, so you were the first person to give me.
So I should have
a
waited,
talk.
is what you're saying.
Gerry was the second person to give me a talk. So Bernie was the only one who's out of sequence, because I wanted to keep one spot earlier on.
He's always out of sequence. Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be back here talking to you again. I hope you'll find this paper interesting. I found it extremely interesting and challenging to research Matthew Bolton. I think, to be honest, to talk about Matthew Bolton in 30 minutes is a real challenge. You could probably spend 30 hours talking about him, what he achieved. It's been a challenge because he was involved in so many businesses and philanthropic areas, as he was a key member of the Lunar Society in Birmingham. You might ask, what is the Lunar Society? Well, fellow members of that society were James Watt, Erasmus Darwin, sorry, yeah, you can't read and write. Joseph Wedgwood, or Josiah Wedgwood, and Joseph Priestley. They met each month and were involved in all sorts of social and business issues.
My research on this paper also led me away from the Soho Mint as its legacy of coinage, science and production. Matthew Boulton was born on the 3rd of September 1728 in Birmingham, the fourth child of Matthew and Christiana Peers. His education was at an academy in Derryton in Birmingham. And at the age of 15 he left school to join his father, who had a Birmingham workshop manufacturing small metal products such as buckles and toys. At the age of 17, Matthew developed a technique for inlaying enamels into buckles. He was pretty cluey at the age of 17 because he actually exported these buckles to France, then he re-imported them back to England and sold them as French buckles. His father...
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. His father, who was also Matthew, died in 1759, and at that age of 31 he took over his father's business, which he'd been running for several years. Although not the theme of this talk and paper, an important part of his legacy was his association with James Watt and his steam engine business. After Watt's business partner, John Roebuck, was unable to pay a debt to Bolton, he then accepted this share of business to form a partnership with Watt, and in the 1780s he completed what became the Soho manufactory, later to become the Soho Mint. One of those steam engines, in my research I found had been in a brewery in England, is now in the Powerhouse Museum in Sydney. In the mid-1780s, Bolton turned his attention to coinage, and in 1788 established the Soho Mint as part of his empire. Show that, please. Next one. The mint included 8, and the next one please. Here we are. It's a Soho Mint, or it's actually, in the early days it was a Soho manufactory. In the mid-1780s, Bolton turned his attention to coinage, and in 1788 established the Soho Mint as part of his empire. The mint included 8 steam-driven presses, each striking between 70 to 84 coins per minute. In Britain, no regal coinage was issued between 1754 and 1770. And then there was an issue of half-pence, and in 1791, fortunately, an issue of farthings, which pleased me very much. Most of those are dated 1754, which you'll find is a very common date for farthings. Both were inadequate to meet the need of genuine coin. In the matter of counterfeit coin, Birmingham, owing to the proficiency of its artists in die sinking and die stamping, had become the centre of counterfeiting. Bolton's early coins were mainly produced for the East India Company for use in India. Bolton also had shares in several Cornish copper mines, and so therefore had a large stock of copper, probably up the profits too. His firm sent over 20 million planchets to the USA to the Philadelphia Mint to be struck into coins and half-cent coins. Next one, please. My first coin displayed from the Soho Mint is the 1790 Anglesey halfpenny token. The first supposedly struck by steam power in a collar to ensure roundness. You can see the coin there, it's a token obviously for the Anglesey mines, halfpenny, 1790. Druid heads on the obverse. And a whole lot of, it was quite an attractive piece. As was most of the work from the Soho Mint. I now come to his lasting legacy with Australian numismatics. In the late 1700s, Bolton spent much time in London lobbying for a contract to strike English coins. After the financial crisis in 1797, when the Bank of England stopped redeeming its bills for gold, there was a plan to issue large quantities of copper coins. A proclamation dated 26 July 1797 from King George III was, I quote, graciously pleased to give direction that measures might be taken for an immediate supply of such copper coinage as might be adapted to the payment of the laborious poor in the present exigency. It goes on, which should go and pass for 1 and 2 pennies. Further goes on, proclamation required that the coins weigh 1 and 2 ounces respectively, bringing the intrinsic value close to their face value. And just to do some stats on these coins, for the 2 penny or tuppence, or the cartwheel tuppence as commonly known, 40 tonnes of copper and 8 coins per pound of copper. The penny was 1,226 tonnes of copper, with 16 coins produced per pound of copper. For the halfpenny, 526 tonnes of copper, with 36 coins produced per pound of copper. And sadly, lastly, the farthing, only 26 tonnes of copper, very disappointing, which produced 72 coins per pound of copper. I do have some examples over there of some coins which I'll talk about, but the first one is the cartwheel tuppence. It has a diameter of 41 millimetres and a weight of 2 ounces. Its mintage is estimated at 722,160. The cartwheel penny has a diameter of 36 millimetres and a weight of 1 ounce, with an estimated mintage of 8,601 and 600. It was also a proclamation coin used in Australia for the value of tuppence. The cartwheel farthing was minted as a pattern and is therefore very scarce. The image below is from my collection, and its condition indicated is that it has been in circulation. The designer of all these coins was Heinrich Kuschler, and Bolton was further awarded contracts in 1799 and 1806, each for the lower 3 copper denominations, that means penny, halfpenny and farthings. There's some examples there from the Soho Mint. Just to let you know, of course, that's the design of the cartwheel tuppence. No, that's penny, sorry.
Okay. That's your first picture.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No.
Yep, that's the second.
Yeah, okay, that's the penny. Yeah, that's, you notice there's 2 varieties of pennies. One I have on display over there is 10 berries. There's also one with 11 berries. That's the 1798. You see the words 1 farthing. Sorry? But you can see that this is a patterned coin. I've had this checked out with some of the dealers in England. very scarce and unknown how the hell it got into circulation. Because you can see it's been knocking about, but a very scarce coin. What's that?
No, I don't think I've seen one before. Yeah.
No, you're probably right. No, yeah, I got some nobles actually, which I was amazed to find it here.
Could you tell us about the berries? Could we go back to the berries?
Berries, okay.
This one?
They're acorns, aren't they?
Well, they call them berries, yeah. Acorn. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 11, I think. No, it's not.
And that's the distinguishing thing for the two dyes, is it?
Well, it's probably what's happened is I would say the dies got filled, you know, during minting. I mean, these are big coins. You see the size of them. They were very, especially the tuppence was not popular because of the size. And he produced these with the rim and that to try and ensure that there was no counterfeiting. But by the time they were very early in the issue, they had produced, counterfeiters had produced these with lead and copper plated.
Gerry, I made a mistake. They're not acorns. They're laurel.
Laurel, yeah, okay, yeah.
So, I'm sorry about that.
Well, we were, in the literature they just refer them to berries, but these are quite nice. Normally you find these, if you've got them, you'll find lots of edge knocks and that because they're so big and knock it around each other. So
If one rolls off the table, there's a lot of kinetic energy by the time it hits the ground.
I don't know. I did some early maths. I mean, you can imagine 12. Well, you take the tuppence, this one, 6 to a shilling. Imagine having 6 of those in your pocket. Yeah, 2.4 or 24 ounces. Got strong pockets. And these, I'm pretty sure these, obviously the pennies and the tuppences were used in Australia because they would have come out at the same time, being the only copper coins really available in England.
The ship on the left of the lady sitting, on the bottom left, what's on the right? Is that a camel?
It's just a rock.
Just a rock.
No, rock.
Yeah, she's sitting on a rock, so that's just the other side of the rock.
Okay.
Anyway, these are quite nice pieces.
And Gerry, this was the basis of King's proclamation coins. The English 1 penny, this one, he decreed by Sydney standard as fiat currency of two pennies, did he? As you've correctly said.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's in the proclamation as,
Yes.
that would be by the governor, was it? Probably approved by the king.
No, I think King did, well,
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Governor
Governor
King,
Governor King, yeah.
in his 1800 proclamation,
Yeah.
proclaimed the fiat value.
He doesn't
quality
refer to it as
of
1 penny, he says a copper coin of 1 ounce at the value of tuppence. That's the actual wording, I think, in the proclamation.
Because the coin, quite conveniently, it doesn't actually say 1 penny on it, so they can do
No,
that.
the only one, if we go to the farthing,
Yeah.
next one. See, it's got 1 farthing on it, which is, and that was repeated in the next year, 1799, which is a couple of examples over there, of 1799, which also has the word farthing in English on it. No, the only part of the quiz, someone asked that question. Stephen, all right. I just like to go on. Even after the partnership with Watt had ended, right up to the time of his death, he was heavily involved with the Soho Mint. Just now, I'd like to go, next one please. Now this, I don't have a copy of this, but this is the Trafalgar Medal issued in 1805. This medal, and I assume Phil's got some, was, here we go. The Soho Mint produced many medals and tokens, in fact, a hell of a lot of tokens. One of these was the Trafalgar Medal, this one, produced in 1805. The obverse has the bust of Lord Nelson, and with the permission of the Admiralty, Bolton, at his own expense, presented one of these medals to every man that took part in the engagement. The ordinary sailors got a copper one, and the officers, I think, got a silver one. And probably a couple of the admirals probably got gold ones. But he did that at his own cost, which probably indicates the sort of man he was. Up until the time of his death, as I said, he was heavily involved with the mint. And in his last few weeks, he actually had his servants carry him to the Soho Mint so he could watch his coins being produced.
Very keen.
Very keen. Don't know whether it's checking on counterfeits or what. Now, one of the last things that Bolden was involved in, this is just around his time of his death, was that Soho Mint was used to counterstrike the Spanish silver dollars into 5 shillings with a small image of King George V for the Bank of England. This involved $2 million in all in value and a value of £500,000. I have a little quote here. So, of these coins are very unpopular. And this attempt inspired a couplet. The bank, to make their Spanish dollars pass, stamped the head of a fool in the neck of an ass. Well, ass, I should say. That was what they thought of George, I think. Anyway, you can see there that, can you see the inset, just a portrait of Georgie. Now, Matthew Boulton died at Soho House 17th of August 1809 at the age of 80 and was buried at St Mary's Church in Birmingham. And that's all, and thank you. My references are Matthew Boulton by H.W. Dickinson and English copper, tin, bronze coins in the British Museum by C.W. Beck. And if you want to know more about steam engines, read his book because it's quite a challenge. 500 got steam engines were produced in something like 2 years.
Thank you so much for that paper. Most people obviously know about the cardinal pennies and tuppence and so on. They've been available in dealers, and probably not my main collection, but I do have one of each, so there you go. And before you go, Gerry, I'd like to present you with a goldish medal of the...
Smile for the camera.
Your talk here. Thank you. Rob wants to take a picture.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chairman, just before you go, I have a special interest in the Lunar Society.
Yeah,
And they met by the night of the full moon.
Yeah, that's right.
Hence the name.
Yeah.
But the members were so erudite, they were leaders in science and community, and for Bolton to be with them showed the standing of the man.
And I mean, the main thing to me was he left school at 15.
Yeah.
You know, not as though he was, and his father died and he was running the business when he was 31.
Yeah.
You know, and the issues between Birmingham and London were obviously very political. So, yeah, and like his interests were science and medicines and all sorts of things. And what he did in refining the steam engine, you know. Anyway, incredible guy.
Yeah.
Well, that actually brings us to the conclusion of the morning session. I don't know if morning tea in its full regalia is there yet, but I'm pretty sure the coffee is there. So we could break early and then reconvene earlier if you want to, and that just gives a window of extra 5 or 10 minutes for speakers after morning tea. But before we go, I'm just not sure that my question about James Watt was completely answered, because as John will tell you, I was a practicing engineer for most of my career, and I have a particular interest in James Watt, because one of the things I specialised in was automatic control systems, and James Watt famously invented the flyball governor. Does everybody know about that? To control the speed of steam engines. And the idea was that as the engine sped up, you have these pair of flyballs which would by centrifugal force go out, and that same energy that caused the steam to valve to open or close. So it'd get to a point where the steam going into the engine was just right for the speed he set. And that was just an amazing sort of concept. And since then people have not improved on that particularly, but people regulating anything by measuring it and then feeding back to control what's coming into the system has been a topic of engineering for a long, long time. And if you ever anybody been to the Science Museum in England, then see a tremendous amount of James Watt's steam engines and beam engines and everything there. So he was a very famous one, and obviously he got his name attached to the unit of electric power, or power generally, the watt. Kilowatt, kilowatt hours, all got his name in them. Anyway, that's my little contribution, but please, yes, morning tea is...
Morning tea will be down in 5 minutes.
Yeah, probably a bit early, that's all right.
Yeah.
But the coffee's there, right?
We're a little bit early.
Anybody want to queue up for coffee? Get your coffee ready for the donuts or whatever's coming.
Thank you.